The fans, you know, finally, we've been working really hard. We've been touring non-stop. We've been putting music out there. And I think on this tour, and the guys will agree, we're starting to see the results, you know. We're selling the rooms out. We're getting better spots in the festivals. People are showing up at the festivals. So, yeah, I think we have a little bit of a love affair there. Right, guys? I mean,
It's magic.
It's magic.
It's magic.
It is.
Pure love.
I mean, is there a better word than that?
No, I mean, magic.
Vino Tinto!
That's all he wants to say.
Are you serious? This is like a
Bam!
no. It's you know what? Honestly, just the whole time I've been in the band, it's just I pinch myself all the time. You know, to be able to stand on stage with these guys and David and you know, it's a great band. We've done, you know, a couple great albums, and now we're seeing results with the fans, and it's awesome. I really think that, you know, without blowing smoke, this band could go on stage with anybody and give them a run for their money, seriously. So I feel very good about it. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny. Like I did another interview, and we were talking about just the process of recording, the way this band records, the amount of. It's not just the way Doug plays, or Marco plays, or Brian plays. It's actually even farther, like with songwriting. You know, the fact that this band is able to walk into a studio with just you know, ideas or riffs, and in a month, like write, record, mix, and master an album like Make Some Noise is it's pretty impressive. I've never been in a band ever, I think, that did a record in less than you know, the Scream. When we got signed, they told us to go write for a year. The Motley record. You know, it's been stated, you know, that we took a year to record the record. We had already written for a year, so that was a 2-year process. The first Union record was probably close to 8 months. So the fact that all these guys get together, even Brian is an amazing guitar player. We all sit around with guitars and we all just throw ideas in, and things happen very quickly. So that's like kind of a testament to everybody's talents. You know what I mean? I think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I've been trying really hard to get that fact out there for about 30 years, and it just hasn't worked yet.
I'll tell you what, kids,
Anyways.
go check out, you want to hear Brian play guitar? Check out the Ball record. Ball. B-A-L-L. Ball.
Just buy the Mary Tish record.
We'll look for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That's very nice. I gotta say though, the last lineup with Richard and Dizzy also was equally really cool. Those guys are great players, and that was a really strong lineup too. So I'm happy to be doing it now since they left. But live, I wanted to try and get a little bit of a fatter sound than what they were doing before, only because I was sort of going to cover keyboards and guitar parts. You know, like that kind of, well, like you got two guitar players. You had Richard and David, and then you got Dizzy filling it up. So now we don't have keyboards. We decided you can't replace. They said it. You can't replace Dizzy Reed. He's irreplaceable. So I decided, well, maybe I'll try and get something that is a little fatter that can cover that ground too. So sometimes I'll play little parts that maybe would be a keyboard part, maybe in Mexico or something, I might play an arpeggio. So I might go, you know, little things like that. But I needed a bigger sound, so I run stereo.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Richard before was just running mono, and so I run stereo, and I asked the
That was spicy. It's nice.
yeah, I asked the front of house guy to spice it up in the PA and put it wide, and then I kind of have some delays that are going on. So it's a little some phasers and different things just to try and, like, you know, if there's a keyboard part, maybe put a little phaser on it or something. And then, so I have pedals.
Yeah.
Basic pedals. One that I really like right now is by Eventide. That gives me some really cool spatial effects. But the main source of the sound is, you know, obviously it's your hands, but it's this Black Eye gold top Les Paul. It's called the Black Eye because it looks like it's got a black eye. This thing, everyone will agree, this is a sweet axe, and it starts with the fingers, goes into the Les Paul, and into a Marshall from I bought it in 1981. It's a 1979 Marshall, and it's really great sounding. And I've loaned it to a lot of people. Joe Satriani recorded with it on the Extremist record, and Godsmack used it on some records. And it's just a killer amp, and I still bring it on the road with us. And you know, hopefully it will make it.
It really is. I think you have to make allowances. I've learned this in being in the business for 85 years. When you have strong talent, and everybody here in this group, very talented folks, they bring their own experience to the mix. They bring their own opinions. They have their own visions. So if there's been any kind of little rubs, it's because of that. Because we have 5 visions trying to be cohesive and end up in one. But that's good because we have too much. In the writing process, when John was talking, there's so much going on, you know. I'm the guy that lays back because there's so much going on. I'm like, okay, I'll throw my 2 cents in or whatever. But it really is, we get along. I think there's a lot of mutual respect. We all, I think when it comes down to it, we all really respect each other. And there's a little bit of love, maybe, I don't know. But we get along really well. And I think the common denominator that we all know, having been around for a while and having been in other bands that maybe did it the wrong way, we're trying to make it happen. So we're all trying to make do, man. We're all trying to step aside sometimes and just let the you know, the cohesiveness kind of take over and take us to point B and C and D, which is why we have a little bit of fun on stage, you know, because when it's all been said and done, yeah, you have one of the best, regardless of anything else in the piece. You're one of the best frontmans there, one of the best drummers right here, and guitar player. David Lowy, who's the riff master, and he's the founder of the band. I try to do my little 2 cents. I try to bring whatever I can, and so it is like that. 90% of the time it's like that. And then 10% we have, because we're strong personalities, you just need to let it happen, you know. And after all's been said and done, we all step aside and we let it happen. So that's a beautiful thing. And we get along, we hang out. This particular tour, it's been pretty grueling. We've been working day and night and day, so when we break away, we just need our little space, you know. But having said that, I mean, we hang out. We meet up for lunch, we meet up for dinners and all that. So as a bass player, I got to say this, and I'm not blowing smoke, to be playing with Brian is, for me, it's the shit, you know. And we have a lot of experience together in other bands, and then John couldn't get better, man. And David, he's the chief, man, pushing the whole thing. So it is a family, and it's a beautiful thing. I think that's why it's having the success that it's having. You know, I think the audience feels it.
We picked up enough already. We let somebody else.
Well, between Doug and I, we have about 36 ex-wives, so there's your answer right there. Honestly, we're all very happily married. We're all dads now, and I'll just leave it at that. Forget about it over there. I plead, in America, I plead the fifth, because my answer might incriminate me.
Can I say that this is also true, man. It's a good, and don't get me wrong. This is a good-looking band.
It's not a bad intention.
It's a good-looking band, man.
Yeah,
Outside looking in, I hear that a lot from the fans. Everybody's in great shape. They look good, man. They play their asses off.
Yes.
There's something very sexy about that.
We have tons of girls the fan club page.
Right.
More than men.
And
we appreciate everybody being here. We really do.
Yeah.
The support that you guys and the support that the fans give us, it really means a lot. And Marco says it on stage, it's like as long as they are supporting us, we're going to keep kicking ass.
That's it.
That's right. But sometimes, it's difficult when you know you're as good looking as we are. Because we'll get in the studio, we'll write, and I can tell that we're not giving 100% because we all kind of know, even if the song suffers a little bit, as long as the picture of the on the cover of the record looks, as long as we look good, it'll sell. So I want us to kind of, maybe grow our beards out a little more, not shower as much, and focus on the songwriting for the next record. And just, come back to the look thing next year. You know what I mean?
We're not, forget the deodorant. Leave the deodorant at home.
I think you need a very big drum to up here more in the pictures.
Yeah, drum solo on the record would be nice.
Bigger drums are always bigger sales. That's just how it works.
He did a killer drum solo on a live record that we just, unfortunately, it would have had to have been a quadruple record. Because it was
This might go too long.
It was 15 minutes. It was great. It was unbelievable.
After Doug edited it.
No. It was. There was like 4 or 5 that we recorded, and they were all great. But they were all basically.
I remember
10
on the
minutes.
cruise playing the Peter Chris
Yes, that was a lot of fun for myself and
awesome,
playing the Kiss Cruise. Yes.
But
he wouldn't have been able to do it without me ripping the pages off for him. So I felt like a big part of that drum solo. It was a legendary drum solo, and I felt like a big part of it.
We got to bring it back.
For me, the groupies in the 80s, their boobs were like this. Now they're like, now it's like a peach and a tube sock. And it's like a peach and a tube sock. So, you got to be careful because when they're swinging, it's just, they're just all over the place. It's crazy.
Very interesting.
No more milk.
I'll tell you, man, we get the mom, the dad, this is true, the daughters, and then sometimes the daughters come with their babies. So the difference, in my opinion, is you're grabbing fans from the 80s, everybody played in the 80s, had projects, 90s, and there's 1 and 2 and 3 generations, which is something I used to see Kiss do. And I was so impressed, man, because you have everybody in makeup, man, you have the grandparents, the parents and the kids, and their kids. So if you want to consider that the groupie scene, it's more of a fan base, family thing. The parents want their kids to hear classic rock and roll. It's very cool.
Yeah, we're seeing quite a bit. Actually, just in Prague the other day, there was a couple little kids standing right in front of me.
Little 5, 6, 7-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it was
Awesome,
cool.
man. So.
How we were introduced to the band?
Yes.
I'm going to start with Marco. Marco was first. He's pretty much original.
1935.
He's an OG. An OG.
No, for me, I was touring in Australia real fast with Thin Lizzy, and it was Motley Crue Kiss package. The band that would start the gigs was David Lowy with his band. And so we all met, and I remember being backstage after 2-3 shows and go, those are some good songs. It was a girl singer, right? Bass player, singer. So right away, I gotta go check it out. And her wife was the guitar player, David was the other guitar player and the drummer. They sounded amazing, and the first thing that caught my ear, the songs were really well-written songs with nice hooks. The singer, the bass player, was just belting, man, and it was really cool. So we started talking backstage, and long story short, before the tour ended, David Edwards, his manager, who is our manager now, came to me and said, you know, we got this project at Daisies. We did an album with studio musicians, and we're looking to put a band to maybe go out and play. There's some opportunities. Would you be interested? I said, yeah, man, if it's anything like I've been listening to. So I got home, and 9 out of 10 times you talk about stuff, it never happens. So I was surprised to get the call from David Edwards and saying, hey, we're going to send some tracks for you to check out, and we're trying to get the Aerosmith opening slot in Australia. And I went, bing! I'm going, really? Okay, well, yeah, send the tracks out. Right away, I knew I wanted to do it, let's be honest. And then I got a call from Richard, and Richard said, hey, Marco, you're doing this thing? They called me, and Charlie, and a great team, of people I always wanted to play with. So before you know it, we were there. We were in Australia, touring. And after the second, third show, we're all looking at each other going, this could be a cool thing, man. Why don't we take this further, And
What year was that?
that was 1935. No, that was 13?
It was 13?
13,
There you go.
I think. Something like 4 years already. My gosh, wow. And so yeah. So before you know it, we got some more touring. Richard, I believe, well, you can take it from there, bro.
Well, this is 2013,
Yeah.
so Marco's in there.
Yeah.
They start their tour, the Daisies doing their thing.
We got the Uproar tour.
And then in the summer, they're doing the Uproar tour. Dizzy Reed's in the band, Richard Fortis, Marco.
Yeah.
They went through a couple drummers. And I had heard, strangely enough, I had heard about the band through my buddy Bumblefoot, who played guitar in Guns N' Roses. We were doing a couple things together. And he goes, oh yeah, Richard, when GNR's not playing, he's in this Daisies thing. I go, what's that? And he explained it to me. And this is the summer, while these guys are touring, I didn't know anything about it. And then a couple weeks later, Dizzy calls me and goes, hey, we need a drummer for some shows on the West Coast. At the time, Frank Ferrer from Guns N' Roses was playing drums for them. He was filling in for some other drummer that didn't work out at that summer or whatever. Yeah. So Frank couldn't do last week, so I came in, oh yeah, I'm home, let's do it. And I did the show, so at that point, it's Marco, myself, Richard Fortis, Dizzy, and John Stevens, the original singer. And strangely enough, to add to that, as involved as it sounds, David Lowy wasn't even playing guitar, he couldn't be there for a few shows, so the guitar tech who played, and then David came in for the last shows. So anyways, that was 2013, the end of the summer, and then since then they called me for a couple different things, and when I was available, I'd come back in. And most of the stuff since 2014 I've done, with the exception of a couple runs here and there. But pretty much, yeah, man. They're talking over 3 years now.
3 years already. The next thing that happened is, without getting into details, is John Stevens.
Yeah.
We were just starting to get some steam behind the project, and David, our manager, was out there trying to knock on some doors and get some work. So we got invited. We called KISS. We all called. Everybody knows everybody. So I started calling Paul, and David Edwards started calling Doc and Gene, and so we got invited to do some dates, and we're going, wow, cool. Then we also got invited to go to Cuba. And all of a sudden, John Stevens had some issues. He couldn't leave the country. So it's like you're building steam, and then all of a sudden. So we all had a talk, we had a conversation, and long story short, David's, let's put our thinking caps on and see what we can do. Do we move forward, or we just nip it in the bud and call it a day? I said, no, man, this is some great shit. There's some great cats out there. So I put in the call to John.
You?
Yeah, I called John, I left a message, and to my surprise, within 10 minutes or 15, I get a call back, right? Or something like you were in the grocery store.
Yeah,
Take it from there.
I was actually mowing David Lowey's lawn, and I couldn't hear the phone because the lawnmower was very loud. But,
In Sydney. He's got a big lawn.
yes, very large. Anyway, no, I was food shopping or something. I just came home from a run with my solo band, and I went out, I was doing some food shopping, and I saw the phone had rung, and Marco called me. And I'd seen Marco, we crisscrossed paths or whatever over here in Europe doing acoustic stuff, and so I'm like, oh, that's weird, Marco's calling, like, so I called him back, and he said, hey, I'm doing this thing with this band called the Daisies, and I think initially I was like, nah, things are going good with me, I'm fine, da-da-da. He goes, listen, just check it out, just meet the manager, and David, our guitar player, come out to LA, and then for me, I had, my guitar tech was staying at my house with me in Nashville. So I was literally talking to Marco in my driveway. So I got off the phone, I carried the groceries in, and so I said to my guitar tech, I go, have you ever heard of this fucking band, the Daisies? I had never even heard of them. And he goes, yeah, I think they were just on tour with Kiss and Def Leppard.
Right.
Yes.
So I went online, I looked, and again, same thing. I heard Angel, Face I Love, and
Yeah, we had
Lock and Load.
that EP.
And I'm like, oh, this is cool. They got a cool sound. So I said, all right, I called Marco back. I said, yeah, all right, so the manager called me, David, and we made arrangements for me to fly out to LA. And I went out, I knew everybody. I knew Marco, Brian, Dizzy, but I had never met Richard before, and I never met David.
Mm-hmm.
So I flew out, and I just kind of hung out that one night. We all went to dinner, and just started talking about stuff, and then I left and went home, and then that's when they said, well, can you go to Cuba? So I had to rearrange some things, because again, I was out with my band. I went up to Canada, I did some runs, and then I flew down and met everybody in Cuba, and I think it was, the Cuban thing for me and the band was like, they had gone through obviously a few changes, and I think for me, they brought me to Cuba, and nobody really said much to me, but I think they just wanted to see what it was like to work with me for the week. They wanted to see what I was like on stage with the audience. So I did that gig, and then I flew home, and then I got a call from David Edwards, about, hey, we got a record to do, would you want to come down to Australia and do the next record with us? And at that point, we did Revolution,
Yes.
and then we went out on tour almost immediately, and we did the whole rest of that year. And then at one point we did call Doug earlier though, because Richard had a motorcycle accident. We were supposed to go to Australia with Kiss.
Yeah.
And literally about a week before, maybe 5 days before, Richard was in a pretty bad motorcycle accident. We needed somebody to fill in. We immediately called Doug, but he was out with Glenn Hughes, so he couldn't do it. So we got someone to fill in, and then Richard and Dizzy told us on the Kiss cruise that they got the call to go back to Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
And then that's when we all sat down and discussed having Doug.
Who suggested Doug?
Well,
Marco?
I don't want to blow smoke because we have.
You knew him from Whitesnake.
We know each other, and we've been talking, and we stay in touch. We do things, sessions, and we always got something cooking because we're friends. I mean, there's that mutual respect. But Doug's name, it's always been there. He's one of the cats.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when we did the Australian thing,
yeah,
like I got a call from David Edwards or an email like, hey, do you know any guitar players? And I was like, well, yeah, you know, and so I had Doug on my list as well, and then Marco hit him from another thing, so they called her and like, well, you know, Doug and I, you know, Doug and I actually knew each other when we were kids. You know, well, he was a kid, I was already really old.
No, he's just a couple years older than me, but Marco called, and, well, actually, I had spoken to John when the motorcycle problem happened with Richard, and I just said, hey, you know, I hope it works out, sorry, and tell Richard, hope he gets better, you know, and all that. And then later they called, and you know, like they said, we all know each other. I've worked with Marco for years, Brian for years, and John and I have known each other for years. We never worked together, but the only thing I had to do was to, you know, get to meet David, and we talked about us getting together to meet up and, you know, have a meeting and stuff. But he and I spoke on the phone a few times, and it just felt like we were on the same page no matter what. And these guys already kind of vouched for me. So we decided, he had a date in mind, and we just got together and we started writing from the first day. And it was great. Very much a traditional old school band working together. And I think, you know, we didn't go, a lot of bands, you know, you can take 2, 3, 4 years to make a record, which is cool, but it's also cool to just go, let's see what we can do right now. Let's see what we come up with right now. Yeah. This will just be a painting of this day, you know? And that's what we would do every day. We would come up with these songs every day, and then the producer, Marty Fredrickson, put it together, helped us put it together. But I heard about the Dead Daisies previously when they put out the video for, well, Marco told me about it, and I go, oh, that's pretty cool. I think I saw a Face I Love video or something. Then I basically had cut out. I was out of Whitesnake and was just kind of laying low with the family, and I saw some big name bands were putting out videos, and I was like, videos don't look as good as they used to. You know, even though it's like a big band, it doesn't look as good as it used to. And then I saw
the Cuban thing. Right?
Yeah, Midnight Moses.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, that's a fucking video.
Yes. Yes.
That's really cool. And I think I called or texted Brian, congratulations, it's really good, and same with Marco. And that's when I found out about the Dead Daisies, what they were doing, and it's really, it's really fun for me. It's a challenge because it's a different style of music than I ever was a part of before. And people go, how do you change your sound to fit the band? And I say I didn't. It's the band is everybody. I just am one part of the band, so that's my sound is one part, Brian's sound, everyone's, and that's what's cool, you know.
Okay.
But it is a different style of music, and it's funny too because you think like really technical stuff with a lot of crazy notes and stuff is really hard, but actually to strip it down and be a pure rock and roll band has its challenges too. And
Sounds now.
A one word?
Fuck! Two words, yeah.
That's a clip. Lose that.
Sorry.
well, just obviously we thank you, muchas gracias. We thank you guys, not only in Spain but all over Europe and all over the world.
All over the world.
And I know that those fans are all over the world, but being that it's kind of the home base is in Spain is kind of cool, you know.
Yeah, it's cool.
And we're very grateful for your support, and we're gonna make a new record that's gonna kick your ass even harder.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Well, guys, we want to thank you so much for all your support. Like Doug said previously, we want to invite you to join the Deadsies fan club, which is a new Dead Daisies fan club. Sign up, and if you do, you get this shirt.
And you get the credit cards. You can charge all the Dead Daisies merch that you want.
How cool! I want one of those.
No, it's a membership card. It's got the logo on the back, the Deadsies fan club, and it's got the band photo on it. And it's numbered, which is very important. You know, that you get your number, and so you know how many people are in it, and this one's number 24.
Wow, I have number 23. Cool. And when you get your bill in from all the spendings, you can, you know, and tears come to your eyes, you can dry the tears with this lovely Dead Daisies bandana, then put it on and go out for a night of rock.
Or you could use the bandana to do really bad things.
So sign up as soon as you can. Join up. We really appreciate it, and be part of the beginning of the fan club, the Dead Daisies' new fan club, which is the Deadsies.
That's it.
We will see you soon. Stay tuned. We love you.
Let's take a picture. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.